Today on Bucko Banter, we dive into the economic activity of small market baseball teams this offseason, talk about why we are feeling a little bummed at, and talk potential trades for the Pirates. You're listening to the Bucko Banter podcast, brought to you by the Just Baseball Media Network. Cue the music.
Rockin' 101s, yeah, she compliment my taste. Whiskey in my lemonade, cause I like the way it tastes. Best seats at the Pirates, can they let me run the base? Yeah, my time is like my money, cause I can't afford to waste. Wifey is a lawyer, take my date to my dates. Order steak by the plates, and in case after case, run my race at my pace, clear the grass of the snake.
Fellas, welcome back to another episode with the Banner Boys and Noah Hiles. I just got to start off with one thing. We're about the end of 2024. What would you both grade this offseason so far for Cherington in the front office? We'll start off hot.
Adam can start.
Thanks, Noah. Man, what would I grade? Well, you say the entirety of 2024, so we're just considering the offseason.
We're just considering from October till now what they have done to improve this team for 2025.
D. And like,
Yeah.
I'm trying to be respectful of like that there's a month left until we hit spring training, right? Or until pitchers and catchers report.
Yep.
They made a trade. They made some signings, but I think you mentioned this to me, Scott, a couple days ago. It seems like GMBC is loading up to rebuild the AAA team instead of the big league team.
Yeah, I even
that
tweeted
concerns
that out.
me.
I even tweeted that out because they signed Derek Hall, which was whatever. He was like a backup first baseman for the Phillies a couple of years.
Hey, listen, he hit 9 home runs in 2022, so
yeah,
put some respect on his name. All right.
It's just, you know,
if
I
you're
know
watching right now, I beg of you to go over to YouTube and just look at Noah's face when I said.
Well, no, the reason I reacted specifically to that is because I had someone email me, I believe on Christmas morning, with making that exact point. That like, have you written about this guy?
Not ironically,
not facetiously, not sarcastically. No, like that. It was like, have you looked into this guy? Like he's, and I was like, I have not. I didn't respond. So I apologize for whoever sent me that one. And like, I know it was well intentioned. They're excited about it. God bless them.
Oh God, man.
Wasn't writing that story on Christmas Day though.
Yeah, and I don't
sorry to
blame
interrupt
you.
with my facial expressions.
No, listen, I needed to address it, but yeah, Scott, I'd say a D, man, because we got off to winter meetings. They make the Horwitz trade, and they're still talking about the Horwitz trade. They're still posting about every single thing the guy says in the offseason. Or to be honest, I'll stop myself right there because I haven't clicked on the articles because I don't know what the articles actually said. They probably interviewed him one time and then they're spreading it out all the way until we hit spring training. Outside, it's been minor league signings and split contracts. And there's been no discussion or no even rumors that they're in the mix to make a big splash or to do something that just simply improves the team. So I'll say a D with the potential to possibly get to a C, hopefully by spring training.
I'm going to, before Noah chimes in on his grade, I just want to say, and I said this last episode, I categorized, or I said that this offseason was a quote unquote colossal failure if it were to end today. And I don't want to sound dramatic, but you've got a Paul Skeens on the roster. You've got a nice young pitching core. You just need to add offense. And it seems like I think Spencer Horwitz could be a good player, but he's 27 years old and he's getting his first true crack at being an everyday player. I think they overpaid for him. If you look at like what Nathaniel Lowe got traded for, what other guys, first baseman Josh Naylor got traded for, I think they overpaid for him just for the fact that they get years of control and he's cheaper. I don't know. What do you think about that, Noah? Like, would you go as far to call this a colossal failure? Because I would give this an F so far if I were to give it a grade.
Well, it depends on how you're grading it. If you're grading this with the scope of this team needs to make the playoffs in 2025 or heads are going to roll, then yeah, you got to give it a bad grade. But, this isn't going off of anything I've heard, but just judging off the activity that they've had, seems like everyone's very comfortable. So maybe there is no rush to maybe 2025 is viewed as the start of this upcoming season, or even last year was like viewed as the opening of the window. And if that's the case, then I don't know. I think it makes a lot more sense with the moves they're making if that's the case, right? They feel like they added to the core with a first baseman, and they're keeping some money available to add on later if it goes well and they want to make moves at the deadline or next year. They still have all their high-rated prospects, and they're reconstructing a front office, which is something you typically don't do 6 years into a regime. Yeah. So it's hard. Yeah. So it's hard to grade. I know how everyone who follows the team views, the way we would grade this, gets the grading scale, right? But I don't know if that's the mentality here. So yeah, if we're grading them off of moves that will make this team better for the 2025 season, it's hard to give them anything better than a D, right? Because even with all of these front office hires, some of them which I like, they're not going to provide a huge instant impact. That's just not how it works. You don't hire, a great head of pro scouting and immediately you see the results. That takes time. That's going to take years to really see the results from that. And even the personnel moves that they've made as far as roster construction, I don't think you're going to see the payoff for Horwitz immediately. I mean, they hope they will. And I think you might see it in the sense where he won't have a negative WAR like their starting first baseman did last year, or the guy they acquired to play first base for them last year in the offseason. But it's not like they made a move that's going to make them drastically better so far. They retained someone who could potentially keep doing what he's done the last couple of years, although he's older. And I don't know how many more years he has. And then you've got unproven stuff. And so, yeah, right now, if you're going off of looking at 2025 as a year they need to make the playoffs or drastic changes will be made, then yeah, it's been very underwhelming. You could even say disappointing for if you're a fan or something like that. But I don't know if this activity indicates that there is an urgency. I mean, they want to get better, but it feels like to me that they're still building on something here rather than finalizing, making the finishing touches.
Yeah. Here's the deal, man. Like, if there isn't that sense of urgency, if they're not planning to win in 2025, if they're not planning to make a playoff push, even a wild card push, and they have another 76 win season or something below that, then you'd assume Shelton is gone. You'd assume GMBC is gone based on the language that they've used this offseason. That could just be a big just smoke screen to make us think things are getting better. But you mentioned, like, yeah, they're making these improvements to the front office in a rebuild, or in the sense that, like, you're planning for the future and your development's not going to happen right away with just a change in pro scouting. And then they have this bad season, and then the GM and the head coach are gone. You'd assume everybody else that they just hired is also gone.
I don't know. Like, the moves that Ben Cherington has made as the general manager this offseason does not indicate to me that he feels any warmth under his seat.
Yeah.
And I don't know if that's the same where if they lose 100 games, then yeah, he'll be fired. And I think they should improve, right? Just because you're going to have a full season of Paul Skeens, a full season of Jared Jones with less restrictions. Like, they should be better in that area. And it's not like their offense got any worse. They didn't really lose any impactful hitters. And theoretically, they added someone who is not a world changer, but will be better. So yeah, I think they'll be a better team and everything. But it doesn't seem like it's a guy who knows if I don't make the playoffs, I'm out. Maybe the manager might be out. Maybe other people might be out. But that's just the vibe that I've got from this offseason. I expected there to be a lot more, I don't know, aggressive moves, or at least just something different. But this is kind of the same song and dance. And now we're just getting And you don't bring in 3 new management level positions to your front office if you think there's a chance you're getting canned next year. So I feel like, and I'm not doing this to cause a panic. This isn't going off of any inside source, but like just reading the tea leaves, does it seem to you like that now that I've laid it out? Does that kind of make sense?
Yeah. I mean, I said last week to Adam that it feels like at this point last year, even we didn't expect to go into 2024 and really compete for a playoff spot. Like we figured we'd have Paul Skeens at some point and we'd be interesting. We'd have a young pitching core, but it feels like at this point last year, they had made more major league moves. They signed Rowdy, they signed Martin Perez, and they traded for Marco Gonzalez. I think that all happened before the new year. This year, the biggest move they've made is traded for Spencer Horwitz. Like you would think they would be much more aggressive on the bullpen market, on the outfield market, everywhere to improve this team offensively, to take advantage of the limited time that they have with Paul Skeens.
I think their lack of activity for major league additions tells me that it tells me the same message that we heard from them all last season, is that they believe in this group. They believe that Brian's going to fix his back. They believe that Triolo with the new hitting coach can become a plus bat. You combine that with his glove, he's a great player. They believe Nick Gonzalez is going to continue to progress, and maybe Tamar Johnson will be here earlier than what some people seem to think. They tell me that Jack Sawinski's going to bounce back, and Andy Rodriguez, they'll have him this year, and O'Neal Cruz is going to continue to develop as a hitter. That's what these moves tell me. Otherwise, you'd be going and getting a Josh Naylor, or you would be going and getting there's so many other names we could throw out there that they're not unreasonable prices for these people as far as trade costs or money that you spend in free agency that will keep them under this budget that everyone perceives them to have. So that tells me that it's not like they're being outpriced in some areas. I think it tells me that they believe that they're overall seeing the game correctly, and that just because everyone seemingly all happened to have a bad year at the same time, that surely that can't all happen again. That's what this tells me. And that's why they went out and they acquired the biggest acquisition they've made through a trade in this 6-year tenure now that Ben's been here. And he lines up exactly with every other player that they've sought after. He has the same traits, skill sets, tools, and he's familiar. They know him well. So it tells me that they think they think last year was more of a everything that could have went wrong. Our guys got hurt. They all went through slumps. No chance. And you know what? If they're right, sure, that's great. If they get 2023 Brian Hayes, 2023 Jack Sawinski, they're going to be a better team, right? If Jared Triolo progresses at the plate the way we saw Nick Gonzalez progress from year 1 to year 2, if Nick Gonzalez keeps getting better, they're going to be a better team. But like the unsettling thing is there hasn't been a lot of reason to like bet on yourself from afar, right? Like you look at it, why would I trust you guys? And there's a surefire way to feel better, and it's by taking something that's proven rather than trotting out a 9-man starting lineup that includes 6 what ifs.
I think that's where I want to go next because first of all, anyone who's watching this on YouTube, our facial expressions, I feel like through the first 14 minutes here has been hilarious. But I just want to say, like, I want to get you both your opinion on the Horwitz trade. I know we've talked about that at length, but
we have nothing else to talk about. So
exactly.
Nothing.
I feel that, and this was on a quote card from last week's episode. I feel that they overpaid for Spencer Horwitz for the I don't want to use this word. I know this might be
you can use it. You won't
financial flexibility.
Yeah.
For financial flexibility, they overpaid for him because they get him cheap and they get years of control. But a team like this who struggles with developing bats should be targeting proven commodities like a Josh Naylor, Like Nathaniel, I'm a big fan of Nathaniel Lowe. I think he would have fit well on this team. And Washington acquired him for just a middle reliever. So, you're giving up assets like Luis Ortiz and Michael Kennedy, who I don't want to prospect hug, but like he had a really good year in Bradenton, and he seemed to be like a quick riser. You gave up assets, limited assets that you have in your farm system for the sake of financial flexibility. I feel like this organization can't afford to do that. I think it's more cost effective to go get the proven bat and spend $10 million for the next year rather than trying to get the years of control and the cheap AAV. What do you guys think?
Yeah, I mean, I agree with everything that you said, but it's just we have to snap back to reality, right? That's just not the moves that the Pirates make, and we were preaching over and over again to deal from depth and the starting pitching depth. And we knew Ortiz could be a trade piece. We knew Falter could be a trade piece. You knew the plethora of arms that they have in the farm system could be potential trade pieces, but you just don't trust them to get the right return for those trade pieces. And that's where the issue comes in. You could talk about trading Mitch Keller or Jared Jones, and when in theory that could be amazing in getting a return for a quality major league hitter. And I can make the same argument for Luis Ortiz as well. You just don't trust that they're going to do that, and they're just going to do what sets them up for the best spot financially 3 years from now. It's never going to be, hey, what's the immediate return here? It's never going to be like, oh, we know we're bringing in an Adolis Garcia or Nathaniel Lowe that has major league success. It's, oh, we have this guy for a while, and then we can almost convince people that we're setting ourselves up for something that, 5 years down the road, it's the same thing that it was 5 years before.
I think one of you guys said this on the last show. The Spencer Horwitz move isn't one you make when you're confident in the core that you have. That's not a move you make when you're, for Ben to go out and say in October that he thinks he likes their position player group at the AAA level more, that he's like, we have more depth there. We have major league talent, more major league ready talent there than any other time in, during his time in Pittsburgh. Then the Horwitz deal completely goes against that line of thinking. When you look at other organizations who feel that way, like you look at Baltimore, who I know is like an extreme example, where it's like you should, at this stage in the rebuild or whatever, you should be like struggling to find spots for guys, right? You should be like, well, where are we going to put, like, it's kind of like the Davis thing, but like if he were good, like if Davis ends up performing well, you have that problem. It's like, okay, well, if like him and Endy are both good catchers, like, where do we move Henry? Type that. Like, that's the situation you should be in. You shouldn't be looking to add younger or like guys of the same age or same experience level, same situation. This is a move you make at the beginning of your window where you're trying to add your last couple touches to your core.
Yeah.
So yeah, that's how I look at it. I've talked about the move a million times. I don't think Spencer Horwitz is a bad baseball player.
Me neither.
I don't hate how he fits in on this team. What I dislike about the move is that, one, that position could have been filled so many different ways. There were great, I think, very, very reasonable priced guys you could have gotten a trade who, as we've said multiple times on this show, have a proven track record, who have been on winning teams, who help your culture, who help your lineup, who put balls in the seats, not watch ball 4 go across the other batter's box. That's what they needed there. And if that was and I've said this before also, if your strategy was giving up years of control on the mound for years of control in the field, then don't half-ass it. Give up, like, this team didn't need a potential 1.5 to 2 WAR player to get across the finish line and be a real competitor. It needed a potential 3 to 4 WAR player. So in order to get that, if you want to make a baseball trade young for young, you should be trading your 3 to 4 WAR pitcher who's got years of control. And then you could have got a real difference maker. But instead, you're just getting the first baseman version of Nick Gonzalez, who's fine. But that's not going to take you to the next level. You're depending on the guys you already have to further develop to take you to that next level. You're depending on a lot of ifs, and you can't do that, especially when you're a team that historically, anytime the word if is attached to you, the worst possible scenario tends to occur. So you shouldn't do that, but that's what they're doing. Now, sorry, do you have anything to add on the Horowitz thing? Because
no, go ahead.
Yeah. I wanted to bring this up because I feel like we're deep enough in the show now. Because I was just looking at, every day, like you guys, I mean, maybe even more because it's what my whole work life revolves around. I'm waiting to see something. I'm having conversations. I'm thinking, when are they going to do something? Trying to figure out what the play is here. And I've come to this conclusion that, at least in my mind, I think that, they're comfortable. They're adding to the foundation, and that they think this will get them to over 80 wins, and then they can build off of it from there, right? So right now, as I see it, this is around an 80-win team, high 70s. What can they do in this final month to make it significantly better? You look, right field's clearly an area that you need to add to, but even the guys they could add there, they're not getting Santander, they're not getting Profar to play over there in right field. They're not getting any great player there. It's probably going to be.
I don't think the answer is in the free agent market.
Right. And it's not, I don't even think it's in a trade market. I think the most realistic guy to go there is probably Taylor Ward. And Taylor Ward, again, makes you better. It's not going to make you a division favorite. So how does this team win the division based off of activity that can occur in the next month? Sure, you got to get somebody to go in right field. Let's just say Taylor Ward for the sake of the argument or whatever. A 1.5 WAR bat to go out in right field. I think you go all in on pitching. And whatever your payroll is allowed to be max heading into spring training, if it's 90 million, if it's 95 million, it's 100 million, whatever it is, you go nuts. Because there's one area of the game that's really been on tap this offseason, and it's relievers. Starting pitching, they've all been snatched up. A lot of the first basemen are off the market. The marquee outfielders are. The one shortstop's gone, right? There's Pete Alonso is still out there if they want to go get him.
Hassan Kim.
Yeah, Hassan Kim. But, he's still, you don't even know if he's going to be healthy for the start of the season. But you look at the relievers that are out there, and if the Pirates were to spend $15 million on these guys, you can make your team better. But it's not just in free agency. They talked about making an aggressive splash trade. And if Spencer Horwitz is your definition of that, then you don't know what a splash trade is, in my opinion. So if you're going to make a splash trade, why not make it in your bullpen? I have a guy that I've circled that I would love to see them go after. It is not going to be a cheap one to go after as far as trade capital. It's a very affordable one finance-wise. But this is a guy that I think if they pursued, they could be a legit team. And it could be something that I think people assume Chapman would have provided last year. I've got my eyes on Tyler Holton from the Detroit Tigers. He was
one of the best relievers last year.
He got an MVP vote. He's a left-hander. But if you look at the Tigers right now, they've got 3 closers. And I know they probably are least willing to part ways with a left-hander.
Yeah.
But you've got a closer in Pittsburgh who only has one more year after this season, where this guy's got multiple years of control. And he's a left-hander. He's dynamic, and they've used him in all sorts of different ways there. I think he started a playoff game.
He did.
He did.
Yeah.
So, and there's murmurs. I just read something, I believe it was in the Detroit Free Press, where they said he's not going to be used as a starter. But the fact that there's that type of talk connected to someone who was viewed as one of the best left-handed relievers in the American League last year just shows the versatility in different ways He could be your Andrew Miller.
Yeah.
And if you're going to make a splash move, and I'm not just saying it's this guy and this guy only, but maybe that's the type of way you get better, where, let's be real, the way this team acquires bats, the money they have to spend on bats, you're not going to go get any significant bats that are going to make your offense much better. It is what it is, and you're just depending on what you have to be better. You want to do that, if that's the route you're going to go, I wouldn't go that way, but if that's the way you're going to go, then you need to go all in on the other route and make some aggressive moves. And I mean, Holton would cost a lot in a trade or something like that, but and again, doesn't just have to be Holton. Please don't put that on the card on Instagram, a graphic card. That's what I want. But it's just, those are the types of guys. Go after those young, elite, difference-making relievers who
I agree.
have years of control, aren't that expensive, and golly, that would solve a lot of problems, wouldn't it? And then you could also, on top of that, still spend money in free agency. Make it annoyingly deep in the bullpen. Annoyingly deep.
I'm pretty sure he was like the best arm in that organization behind Tariq Skubal. That's
I
why
mean,
he's
a
got that
beast.
start.
He is a beast.
Yeah, he was a Florida State guy. Adam, I'm
Yeah.
you know, he's from your area, but he was really good. And I'm just curious, like, what do you think a trade package would look like?
I don't know, but I mean, if you offered two top 100 starting pitching prospects, it'd be hard to turn that down when you already have a loaded bullpen. And also, like, if they're looking for a left-hander to fill his void, they had Chafin there. He's still on the market. They could bring him back, and they could just rely on their other two really good closers.
Sure.
It's just an idea. And again, I don't want us to be fixated just on Tyler Holton because, spoiler, they're probably not looking to trade him. But it's just guys who fit that profile. Like, if you're not willing to go out and gamble, like if you're going to gamble on something long term, then you should be going after, call up Cleveland and try to get one of those elite young relievers that they have, and like make trades through that way, and then spend your money on relievers too. Like this month of January should just be the month of the bullpen, and make aggressive trades to add years of control there to proven commodities, and also spend money on the old guys. A guy like Kirby Yates would look good in black and gold, in my opinion. Scott Alexander's still out there. I've been talking about him.
Yeah.
What's that?
He'll be pretty cheap, I think. Like,
yeah,
I don't
like
think
$2 million. I mean,
Yeah.
AJ Minter, we've already talked about, or you could get Chafin, who's a left-hander. Like, there's other guys, but I'm saying rather than paying $10 million to get your premier bullpen edition like they did last offseason, go trade for it.
Yeah.
And spend money on a couple of additional pieces and just make this team the Seattle Mariners of the East Coast.
Who also can't hit.
Right. That's why I said that.
Yeah. It's just, I know. I just want to put it out there for the people that don't know. I like that.
They're in a much tougher division than Pittsburgh, though.
Sure. And also, I think they've also set themselves up for a better situation. They will spend money where they can, or at least they're in on these free agents. I don't mind that, Noah. I like that. It's almost like the opposite of what they did last year in a sense, where we didn't think the rotation was going to pan out. So let's make sure the back end of the bullpen is airtight. And then it kind of ended up being the other way around. But in this sense, you're like, okay, if we're not going to get bats and the starting pitching is reliable, let's just make sure everything else is airtight. I don't mind that. I like it. I'm just, again, it's like, are they going to sign a Minter? Are they going to go out and make like an aggressive trade because they've already given up Luis Ortiz? And I know we talk about dealing from depth, but it's like you have to toe the fine line of like what
giving up too much
starting pitching or prospects outside. I mean, I'm leaving Bubba off of this list. Like outside of him, like who is movable right now that's going to contribute to this team, but also not hurt us in the same breath because of how the Pirates operate.
Well, I mean, if you believe in your organization's ability to develop pitchers, which I think they do, and I think they have good reason to. I mean,
you almost had me. You got me in the second half of that sentence, but the believing in the organization, I was almost immediately going to say no, but you
when
got me
it
all the
comes
way
to
back.
developing pitchers, you look at it
Yeah.
like I think you view it with the sense where it's like maybe we can go without a chair or not a Charrington, a Harrington or an Ashcraft or a Barco, because we know that if we focus in and we can replace those guys internally. And I think that their actions already kind of feel that. I mean, if you look at what they gave up, Riley and who was the other one that they just gave away, Kennedy. Like I thought both of those guys had a lot of potential and to like kind of be a part of that next wave of arms coming up. Well, that tells me that like they feel like they can get the new guys on that real quick. So I understand that you don't want to give up too much there, but I mean, I would say you only make a move like that if you feel like if again, we'll just use him for the example, like a guy like Holton. If you're getting him, it's like who would be more impactful for your team during Skeens' tenure, Harrington or Holton? Yeah. Right, like a fourth starter or a lights out 4-WAR relief pitcher.
Yeah. I agree.
Right? Like stuff like that. And again, not just Holton, not fixating on him, but like you go around, you look for young, controllable arms, and you just say, hey, like we got a lot of starters. This is a unicorn, and maybe shoot, like throw in Tamar if it takes it or something like that. Just be aggressive and just make it so there's just like Kyle Nicholas is like fighting to make the opening day roster. Carmen Majinski is fighting to make the opening day roster. Guys who probably would make most teams' opening day roster, make it so deep that like you don't ever have to rely on Ben Heller to pitch leverage innings. And that's not a shot at Ben Heller, but like teams who are competing in the postseason, they typically, it doesn't come to that.
Yeah.
So
no, absolutely. I wanted to touch on Arizona real quick because
yeah,
I think Jim Rosati posted a graphic the other day or a rundown of the team revenues last year, and Pittsburgh and Arizona were basically like around they brought in the same amount of revenue, like pretty similar, like maybe 5 million or so off. Arizona just gave Corbin Burnes 6 years, 210 million. I think it was like what 35 a year or something like that.
Mm-hmm.
It's and the Pirates have never given out a contract like that. Is there? I mean, do Pirates fans have a right to be frustrated about the lack of long-term deals, high AAVs, like proven commodities? Like Arizona clearly, Ken Kendrick is the owner of the Diamondbacks. He clearly like wants to win. They went to the World Series 2 years ago. He had a taste of it. Like they want to improve this team. They have a very young core with Corbin Carroll. They've got Zach Gallen. They've got some good young pieces to build around. The Pirates have young pieces too. They have a Paul Skeens. They have a Jared Jones. They have an Ono Cruz. Like build around these guys. But the Pirates aren't making that type of offer in free agency.
Look at the names the Diamondbacks have signed, pitchers alone,
Greinke,
since they've existed.
Yeah,
like they've acquired Randy Johnson, Kurt Schilling, like Greinke, Corbin Burnes, Madison Bumgarner. Not a good example, but they paid a lot of money for him.
Yeah.
But like, yeah, they've look, man. I mean, you answered your own question while asking it. Like, it's just how bad do owners want to win? Some guys would love to win. Some guys need to win.
Yeah.
There you go.
Yeah. Put it on the quote card. It's that balance, right? Of like, what are my operating costs and what are we bringing in to like, can we keep people just like on the edge of their seat? Like, how long can we ride that out for? And they've been able to do it for an exceptionally long time, where we're still here talking about it and potential moves to get this team better, when in reality, it's not about that. It's about what's going into ownership's pockets and like, what's the best way to capitalize on doing the very least amount to put out a semi-respectable major league roster, and very heavy, like put in italics, like semi-respectable compared to the gross profit or the net profit that's coming in. It's as simple as that.
Yeah, I'm getting tired of hearing the word small market, personally. I mean, there are large markets, no doubt about that. right? Like New York, LA, Chicago, huge markets. But at the end of the day, every major league team plays in a city that should have enough people inside that city to where if that team's good, they'll show up to the games.
Yeah.
Every team. And if you look around, San Diego does not have an overwhelming size population. Phoenix, Milwaukee, these teams spend enough to win. Maybe not a World Series, but they get close. Sometimes they get there. Kansas City.
They give themselves a chance. Yeah.
They give themselves a chance. So, yeah, you could say, you could use the major market thing when a Soto comes up. How many times does that actually happen, though? We get one every 3 years, those mega deals of free agency. Or even if it's one a year. Boo-hoo. That sucks. It's just a reality of the world that rich people are only able to afford the nicest things. That's not just in baseball. But in reality, it's not as unequal of a playing field as they make it out to be. It's just not. Where you just see, try for 5, rebuild for 5. That's not a hard strategy to abide by, right?
I saw a lot of Pirates accounts like commenting on Passan's tweet the other day about the Dodgers and how they're like really wanting to win and bringing back Teoscar Hernandez. It's just, I get it. Like, we don't have the resources that the Dodgers have, but we could also be spending a lot more money than we are right now to make this team better. And that's the point that I think he was trying to make that people didn't fully grasp. They're like, how can you compare the Pirates and Dodgers? Yeah. So no one was comparing the Dodgers and Pirates. It's just the fact that, these owners like Ken Kendrick of Arizona, they have the willingness to spend money to make that team better. The Pirates definitely have the capabilities to spend more than they are. And that's the point. That's the point of Passan's tweet and the whole argument. I know we'll never sign a $765 million contract for Juan Soto, but he was a unicorn because he is a free agent at age 25. Like, those guys, that doesn't happen often. So I guess just my point in this whole rant is the fact that, we can be mad about the Dodgers. We can be mad about the big markets like the Yankees, the Mets, and stuff like that. But we should also direct that anger towards, our ownership, because they definitely have the capabilities to spend more than they are right now. We could definitely be a Cleveland. We could definitely be a Tampa Bay. We could definitely be Oakland, Sacramento, who's spending more money this offseason. I know there's reasons behind that, but still, we could be operating differently than we are right now.
Or another additional point. If you feel like you don't have enough money, if you're not making enough money no, not even going to go there. Although I did see a billboard suggesting that.
I saw one. They do.
Yeah. Actually, no one did because they're in a stupid spot. But anyway, if you feel like you need to meet a certain profit margin to justify owning a baseball team, and that profit margin is negating your ability to also add talent that allows you to compete and perhaps make more money. Another idea could be a better business. Find a way to get better corporate sponsors. Yeah. Find a way to just make more money through non-baseball things. I mean, would people be against it if they had 1 billion sponsorship ads hanging all throughout the outfield if it allowed them to maybe sign another free agent or two? I don't think so. And that's just one example, but it's like, there's got to be some form of creativity somewhere. If it's not in the baseball ops team, it's got to be with the analytics. If it's not with the analytics, then it should be in the business side of things. It's just content is what I feel. It's just the way it's set up. And congrats to Manfred, because for as much shit as he gets, he's set this up where it literally players can make more money than ever before, and owners can make more money than ever before. Yeah. And you don't really have to do much, like at all. And so why would you try? It's just, do you want to win? And if you would like to win, then you can do what you do. You could go through the motions, hope that you hire some whiz kid to run your baseball ops team, or hope that a Paul Skeens falls in your lap, and you can get a magic run. You can catch lightning in a bottle. And that's great. Or you could take advantage of those opportunities, and you could, build some goodwill around the miracle that is the first overall pick that you were lotteried into a couple of years ago, and say, hey, we got this. We're going to build on top of it, and just recognize that this city would absolutely sell out those seats if you showed real interest in going for it.
I think this is a fun exercise real quick. You mentioned putting out advertisements, almost like the movie Major League Baseball, where they show up to the park one day and everything's covered wall to wall in ads. What could the Pirates put out on the Riverwalk that would gain enough interest, bring in enough money to go out and get a free agent? Here's my first thought.
Also, it wasn't just advertisements in the outfield also. I mean, you could get a better media deal. There's so many ways to make money in professional sports rather than just taking their league revenue share and hoping people come once a week to watch Paul Skeens pitch.
Sure, we could throw out another Wiggle whiskey ad, but here's my first idea. We bring in a pirate ship. You could dress up the Gateway Clipper. Noah, stick with me.
I'm here.
We put you turn it into a bar for game days, at least on weekends. It's going to be packed. All right. You put out you make sure it's high enough from the top of the ship to the water. And then you have a plank, right? And it's almost like a bungee jump where you get connected and then you can walk the plank and then you bungee jump down into the Allegheny, almost getting to the water. Then you come back up, you get a beer, and then you go watch the Pirates win 2-1. Thoughts?
Is this a yacht?
I just need them to sign somebody so we don't have to talk about this. I mean,
I'm sorry.
I'm sorry I brought that idea up of getting creative business wise, because it set off a light bulb in both of your heads, and I didn't mean to do this. My point in bringing that up. Also, it sounds great, Adam. I would love that. I think it's probably more likely they sign Juan Soto than that being a thing that happens, but I would be for it. My point being is, if you're a quote unquote small market team, rather than just crying and saying, oh, it's unfair, if you really want to win, you find a way. You find a way to make the most of your investments. You find a way to hire the best people possible, or you find a way to make more money in other areas that you can make up for it. That's the difference. That's what winning organizations do.
Yeah. No,
I'm sorry. If you double this team's payroll, they'd still be in the bottom half of the league.
This kind of turned in. Yeah, I agree, man. I agree. This is titled Offseason Frustration, or I guess we started this conversation with small market teams, but this kind of molded together with our other segment that we're bringing back called Bummed At, where usually Scott and I talk about why we're feeling a little bummed at, and we don't need to be repetitive here, but here's one reason I'm feeling bummed at, guys. I put out a joke tweet 2 days ago, or maybe even yesterday, and I said, source, Pirates had a deal in place to bring Corbin Burnes to Pittsburgh for 3 years, $3 million. Burnes said no, he goes to Arizona.
Was the source a league source?
That it was a I gotta get through this, Scott. I gotta get through this. That tweet had over 32,000 impressions. Okay. It had a lot of people commenting on it, taking it as fact. The reality is we have people that believe that the Pirates actually would offer Corbin Burnes 3 years, $3 million, and then getting mad about it. And then potentially going and talking about this is what they're offering players when it's so clearly a joke. It makes me sad. It makes me so sad that people are like, of course the Pirates did that, when it's so clearly sarcasm and a joke, and we're just trying to have fun with it. But it has the little bit of like the stab me in the heart feeling for the Pirates fans on of course this is what's happening. It bums me out, guys. It really does.
It bums me out for multiple reasons, Adam. We'll start off. I agree with everything you said. It bums me out that this organization has been so, for lack of a better word, frugal at times, that people would believe they'd have the audacity to offer a Cy Young winning pitcher 3 years, $3 million. I don't think anyone who actually understands baseball would really believe that one. But then again,
Twitter's it's a wild
we got
place.
here somehow. We got here somehow.
Right.
What also bums me out is that apparently anyone can just say they have sources these days.
I'm so sorry.
No, it's fine because but that's the thing where you guys were joking.
Clearly.
But if you just tweet sources : there's a fraction of the internet that just takes your word for gospel, and they're waiting for you to be proven wrong.
Oh yeah.
And innocent until proven guilty is a great concept in the court of law, but not when it comes to reporting facts. We're not just supposed to believe everything everyone says until it's proven to be not true, especially when it's talking about information pertaining to $1 million acquisitions. That's just not how it works. But no, that's frustrating. And my third thing that bums me out about that tweet is the reality behind this all is that, people are upset with the Pittsburgh Pirates, and people can only yell at the @Pirates social media handles so much. And so when people see those posts or just things that bring up that anger, it sits there and they stew on it.
Mm-hmm.
And there's only so many outlets for that frustration to come out. And one of those outlets are the people who are around the team every day. And so you want to know what bums me out is when the team doesn't do anything for the first half of the offseason and the beat writers feel it. You feel the wrath. You just do. Let's call a spade a spade. It's been a bummer. I'm not having a good time. To quote Jimmy from Real Bros of Simi Valley. And everything's contentious right now. Everyone's arguing with each other on social media. Who's right? Who's first? Who's credible? Who's not credible? And I am guilty of it. I've gotten in the mud just as much as anyone else. It's a shame. I shouldn't be doing it. But the reality is, if something were to just happen, we wouldn't be tweeting Corbin Burnes source rumors from a joke Twitter account. We wouldn't be thinking about pirate ships as a way to pay for free agents. We wouldn't be doing any of this stuff. We'd be talking about real baseball players coming to play for a real baseball team. But nothing's happening right now. And boy almighty, do I wish it would. I wish it would. I hope it does. I want it to happen.
That was beautiful.
Yeah.
That was beautiful.
Oh, I love that. Great debut on Bummed At.
Mm-hmm.
Great debut. Scott, anything?
I'm just gonna bring up a couple things before we close out here. Like a couple guys I've mentioned multiple times that I'd love to see them acquire, like Jake McCarthy. I don't know why I'm big on the Jake McCarthy.
Scott's huge on Jake McCarthy.
I love Jake McCarthy. I think he'd be a good addition to them. Base running, defensively, offensively, I think it just works out, and he's cheap, and that's what they want. Randall Grichuk could be a fallback plan in terms of free agents. I'm not in love with any of the remaining free agents, but he's a guy that provides power that this team doesn't have and defense. Yeah. But I think, pitchers and catchers report in a month and a half, like Valentine's Day around that
February
time.
10th, I believe.
10th?
Yeah, that's when I report.
That's when you report. Yeah. It's coming up quickly, and I get everyone's frustration around the lack of moves, but there's still another month left, and I'm going to let it play out. But right now, I am not feeling great about this offseason. I'll just put it at that.
Here's some names I wrote down. I'm not going to talk about Heston Kjerstad again, although I promised I'd bring it up every episode until it happens. That's my new bit.
That's
So-
a guy I would overpay for, by the way. Like a Spencer Horwitz trade, I would have sent Kennedy, Luis Ortiz, and Josh Hartle to Baltimore for Heston Kjerstad.
Yeah.
I
Well,
would send
hey,
Saxboy Billy to Baltimore for Heston Kjerstad. And
What's
we know
that?
how we feel about it. I would send Saxboy as an additional part of the trade. Like, we'll throw in whatever we can get at this
are
point.
we
right?
overpaying at that point? Are we overpaying? Yeah.
Baltimore, you combine Saxboy with Stavros, Baltimore's got the best 1-2
Oh
punch
my God.
Oh
in the
man,
quantity
Stavros.
content game. Yeah.
Ugh.
So,
Geez, oh man, yeah.
The
I don't
Joe
even wanna think
Flacco
about
content
that.
would be unbelievable.
yeah.
Yeah.
Once Saxboy learns who Joe Flacco is, it'd be great.
Other names I have on this list for potential trades, Ryan O'Hearn. I think you could have some type of combination there where you send an arm and maybe a mid-level prospect. Spencer Torkelson, Trevor Larnach, who we haven't mentioned on this show before, I thought could be a potential piece considering the Twins have Walter Jenkins rising, Emmanuel Rodriguez. They might have to clear some money on some other ends who had a really, I think, decent year. I believe he hit like 15 bombs. Could be a decent option. They also have some other outfielders that they might be able to move from. His metrics are outstanding. If you look at the guy at the plate, does not walk or does not strike out at all, walks a ton. He's unrestricted free agent in 2028. So you're getting the years to control what it takes to get him. I don't think it will be much. Potentially an arm and a bat, or maybe you part ways with, I can't believe I'm like Henry Davis, but you can't, like, there's no value there at all. So I'm just throwing out names here, but I think Burrows and maybe another arm could get that done. I think I just ran through, I exhausted myself there.
Here,
I
let
just
me
wanted
run
to
through
get through
some
that
names
quick.
I have
Yeah.
real quick. A long-term guy, Josh Lowe from Tampa.
Ooh, I love
I
that.
like Josh
Uh,
Lowe.
Yeah. I think he's still pre-arb. And I think he's a guy that maybe could be the centerpiece of a trade, and maybe they'll kick in a big league ready left-handed reliever as well. You know, no one amazing, but someone who's better than Joey Wentz, who is your only left-handed reliever on the 40-man right now. That's a guy I was looking at just today. Started looking also into one-year guys, because maybe they still have long-term belief in Jack, and they just need a reliable stopgap. Maybe they're looking for another Michael A. Taylor type deal, but it could be done through trade rather than free agency this offseason if they were to go that route. Two guys that I looked at, Hunter Renfroe. I know he's on a team that's looking to win now. They just acquired India. I don't think India is going to be a DH. I'm not saying India is going to be a right fielder. I'm just saying that when you add another piece, they could reshuffle. Maybe they're willing to move one of their younger infielders out to right field and get Renfroe's money off the books, or maybe they are willing to trade Renfroe and sign someone who's decent at baseball, because the Royals like to spend money and try to win games every now and then. Another guy, Adam, you brought up Minnesota. I think that's going to be an org that's looking to maybe dial it back a little bit when it looks around the division and sees what Detroit and Cleveland have going, and in Kansas City, obviously. I think that they're going to start looking to cut some payroll and maybe add some prospects. A guy like Willie Castro is so intriguing to me. He's basically IKF 2.0, except I think he does
with more power.
Does a little bit of everything a little bit better, in my opinion. He's younger. Maybe he's not as good of a fielder, or like maybe he's not a better fielder, but I think he's just as good in the field. But yeah, he's a guy that I would rather see at the top of the order than IKF. And just having two of those guys, both on a one-year deal, it basically allows you to say, well, one, what happens if IKF gets hurt? Like, who's the shortstop? That's a big problem. Where now you have two guys that you can mix and match. I mean, Castro's a switch hitter. He's a guy who could play every other position on the diamond too. So between those two, super utility guys, and even Triolo, you could throw them in there. Like, your bench is solid with having a guarantee that you're going to have two of those guys coming off the bench every game, or at least one of them. if you want to start Castro in right field for the time being, give Jack some time to get going, and then say Kutch goes down with a hammy, all right, move Reynolds over into the DH. Castro can play left. He could play short. He could do whatever. He's making, I think he's in his final year of ARB. Fangraphs has him projected to make like $6 million. Again, just a 1-year guy, but they love that defensive versatility. He doesn't bring much pop to a lineup, but he's a leadoff hitter, more defensive versatility, been around some winning baseball. I don't know. Just throwing out names.
I like that. Oh, real quick, I also had on my list Matt Wallner could be another potential option from the Twins as well, but I don't know if that's even on the table.
I will say, like, I remember in June or in early July when they started playing really solid ball, like Taylor Ward was like, but like, you know how it's like you go through a dry spell for a little bit and like that girl you always see at the bar, like, you know, maybe, but like now it's like she's looking a lot better right now. Like Taylor Ward's looking a lot better right now compared to a lot better right now compared to how Taylor Ward was looking in June or July of last year. Like you're looking at that 115 OPS plus. You're looking at that steamer projection for 2025 saying he's going to hit 25 home runs. You're like,
oh yeah,
okay.
baby.
Yeah. Like you're going through the Instagram and you're like, not bad. Like, yeah.
Not bad. Yeah.
Right.
I like it.
So yeah, Taylor Ward, I'm just saying, as someone who was like not completely overwhelmed with the idea of adding Taylor Ward at the deadline last year, I look around now and it's like Taylor Ward would be a solid addition to this team. So,
I agree.
Yeah.
I agree.
Scott,
anything else?
I don't have anything else, man. It's frustrating right now, but we're getting to the new year. We got a month or so left until pitchers and catchers report. Still got some time to make some moves, so we'll hold out until then. I don't want to jump to conclusions, but we'll see what happens here.
Awesome. As always, Noah, thanks for joining us today. Hope everybody had a happy holidays and a happy and healthy new year. Some really big Bucko banter news about our program should be coming in the next couple of weeks, so we'll keep you updated on that, but I am positive that you are going to love it, and it's going to add a ton to what we have going on right now and into the 2025 season. If you don't already, go follow us on social media at Bucko Banter everywhere that you log into. That's going to be our handle on YouTube. Subscribe, like, share, leave a comment, and if you're listening, leave a 5-star review, download the episode. It helps us out a ton, and then go buy some Bucko Banter merch. We appreciate everybody, and until next time, raise it.
Raise it.
Rockin' 101, she compliment my taste. Whiskey in my lemonade, cause I like the way it tastes. Best seats at the Pirates game, they let me run the base. Yeah, my time is like my money, cause I can't afford to waste. Wifey is a lawyer, take my date to my dates, or the steak by the plates.